Hi again. This is Andy Nicol, the course tutor for the Perfectly Spoken Advanced course. And in this lesson, we are going to look at a grammar area, and it is verb patterns. We looked at verb patterns with transitive and intransitive verbs in lesson 31. And so we're going to look at more general verb patterns in this lesson. So more specifically, verbs plus infinitives, that's both with and without to. Verbs plus gerunds, that's the ing form of the verb. And verbs which can be followed by either gerunds or infinitives. For example, with the same meaning, we have verbs like. I like swimming, I like to swim. The meaning is more or less the same, although obviously with the infinitive, there is an implication that you might do it with a certain frequency, but it's a subtle difference. And then where there are very different meanings. Okay, so we're going to look at some sentences here, and I'd like you to decide which is the correct verb form in each example. Here's the first one. As a New Year resolution, this is something we typically do in the UK and other places. After Christmas, New Year, you decide to change your life in some way, maybe stop eating chocolate in this case, or smoking or whatever, or to do more exercise, etc. So as a New Year's resolution, I decided, is it give up, to give up, or giving up eating chocolate? So after the verb decide, do we use an infinitive without to, an infinitive with to, or an ing form of gerund? And the answer is an infinitive with to. I decided to give up eating chocolate. So after the verb decide, we always use an infinitive. Number 2, do you mind? Is it not smoke, to smoke, not to smoke, or not smoking in here? Well, after mind or do you mind, it's the ing form of the verb. Do you mind not smoking in here? Next one. I remember, is it put, to put, or putting my purse in my bag? Well, this is a memory of a past event, and so we use the gerund, putting. We'll look at remember later because it can use an infinitive as well with a different meaning. Okay, and the last one in this, my mother made me, this is actually verb plus object, made me. Is it tidy, to tidy, or tidying my room? This is make with the meaning of obliged me or forced me. My mother made me. Is it tidy, to tidy, or tidying my room? And the answer is tidy. Curiously, this is an active sentence. In the passive, we use a full infinitive. I was made to tidy my room by my mother in a passive. Curious little anomaly. Okay, so we're going to look at a table here with lots of verbs and decide which column they fit in. We've got infinitive with to, an infinitive without to, a gerund or the ing form of the verb if you prefer, gerund or infinitive but with the same meaning, gerund or infinitive with different meanings. So first of all, afford. If you can afford something, it means that you have enough money to buy it. If you can't afford, you don't have enough money. What form of a verb comes after afford? Pause the recording here if you need time to think. It's to. So as I can't afford to buy a new car, I can't afford to go on holiday this year, etc. So it's afford plus an infinitive. Agree. What form of verb comes after agree? And again, it's an infinitive. I agreed to meet her at the cinema at 7 o'clock this evening. Agreed to meet her. Avoid, meaning to escape having to do something or etc. What comes after avoid is a gerund. My sister always avoids doing the washing up in our house. Okay, can't help. If you can't help something, it means that you feel compelled to do it. You have to do it. So what form of verb comes after can't help? I'll give you an example to make it a bit clearer. And it's the gerund, okay? I can't help singing in the shower. Every time I go to the shower, I start singing. I can't help myself, okay? I feel I have to do it. Can't stand is a very strong word, well, expression, verb, if you like, and it means to hate, to dislike strongly. I can't stand. And it's followed by a gerund. I can't stand losing when I play a game. Yes, if you're very competitive, you hate losing, ing. Okay, deny. If you deny something, you say, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. To deny. What comes after deny? And again, it's a gerund. She denied hitting her little brother when her parents confronted her. It wasn't me, I didn't do it. She denied hitting her little brother, ing. Go on. Where would you put go on? Well, it's actually gerund or infinitive. It's got two different meanings, and that's why we can look at this a little later. Go on can mean continue, and go on can mean to do something at a later date. Again, I'll explain it more in detail in a minute. Happen. Where would happen go? It's with an infinitive. If you happen to see my brother, could you tell him I'd like to speak to him? It means perchance or by chance if you happen. Imagine is followed by a gerund. I can't imagine working with him. He's a total disaster, okay? Can't imagine working, ing. Involve, also ing. To become good at something involves putting in a lot of practice or involves doing a lot of exercise or whatever. Involve plus ing. Love is both gerund and infinitive, but the meaning is more or less the same. Make, well, I mentioned this before, is infinitive without to, but remember in an active sentence. In the passive, we use the full infinitive. I was made to tidy my room, as an example we looked at before. Mean is actually both gerund and infinitive, different meanings. Again, we'll look at this in a minute. Miss is followed by gerund. Okay, I miss watching my favourite TV shows on a Saturday morning since I started work. Needn't means it's not necessary. You don't have to do something. And it's followed by an infinitive without to. For example, you needn't, you needn't wear a uniform in this company. It's not necessary. You don't have to do it. Pretend is with an infinitive. My grandmother gave me a sweater. I really hated it, but I pretended to like it so as not to hurt her feelings. Pretended to like it. Promise, again infinitive. Can I have can I borrow your bike? I promise to give you it back tomorrow. Refuse means that you say, I won't do it. You refuse. Again, it's an infinitive. She refused to lend me her bike, using the same example. Okay, regret. I'm going to disappear so you can see that. It goes into gender infinitive. There's a difference in meaning between the use of the gender infinitive. Again, we'll look at this in a little more detail later. Remember similarly. Don't know quite why that jumps above the other one, but there we go. Suggest. Where would you put suggest? Well, she suggested going to the cinema tonight. Again, gerund. Start is gender infinitive, the same meaning. There's no difference between start to do something and start doing something. I started to study Russian a few months ago. I started studying Russian a few months ago. Stop, however, can be followed by both, but there is a difference in meaning. To stop doing something and to stop to do something are different. Again, we'll look at this in a bit more detail later. And finally, try is also gender infinitive, but with different meanings. Okay. And one last thing, all modal verbs can, could, must, should, would, etc. They all are followed by infinitive without to. I can swim, you should go, we must buy, etc. All modal verbs, infinitive without to. Okay? So, let's have a look at these sentences and see if you can decide which is the correct form. These are the verbs that were in the last column, the ones where there is a difference between gerund and infinitive, but you can use both. There's a difference in meaning. So here, I regret to inform you that your flight has been delayed. And the second one, I regret, is it to tell or telling her about my personal life? She really can't be trusted. So I regret telling her. So obviously here, there is a difference in meaning between them. So what is the difference? Pause the recording if you need time to think. Well, the first one, regret plus infinitive. Here, regret means I'm sorry to give you, and basically you're giving bad news. I regret to inform you that your flight has been delayed. Okay, it's to apologize because you're going to deliver bad news. Whereas regret plus ing is when you have done something in the past and you wish you hadn't done it. That is, I regret telling about my personal life. I told her about my personal life, but then she told everybody else my secrets, so I regret it. I wish I hadn't done it. Regret plus ing. Okay, let's have a look at a couple more. There's the peak of Mount. It's actually Mount Everest. Okay, I'm going to put both sentences up this time. The first one, have you tried, is it to add or adding a little more salt to the dish? I'm sure you'll find it tastes better. And I tried to reach or reaching the mountain peak, but in the end I had to turn back to return to base camp. So the first one, have you tried, is followed by ing. Tried adding a little more salt to the dish. I'm sure you'll find it tastes better. And the second, I tried to reach the mountain peak, but in the end I had to turn back to the base camp. Okay, so what is the difference in meaning here between these two sentences? Pause the recording if you need to think. I would like time to think before you hear my answer. Well, the first one, you're making a suggestion for a kind of an experiment to see if it works or not. Put in more salt next time and see if it's better. So if you try doing something, it's like an experiment to see if it works or not. Whereas tried plus infinitive is when you're doing something which is difficult and you might not succeed. It's to make an attempt at something. I attempted to reach the mountain peak. It'd be more or less the same. Okay. Moving on. Which is the correct form here? It's your grand's birthday on Saturday. Remember to buying her something. And the second one, I remember to going to the park with my grandmother every Sunday when I was little. Again, pause the recording if you need time to think. The first one is remember to buy her something. And the second, remember plus the gerund plus ing. So what's the difference in meaning? Pause the recording again if you need time to think. Well, the first one means don't forget, and it's talking about the future. Remember to buy your grand something. It's her birthday on Saturday. It means don't forget, it's about the future. The second one, I remember going to the park with my grandmother every Sunday. Remember plus ing is a memory of a past event. Something you've called to your mind, something you remember from the past. When I was little, every Sunday I went to the park with my grandma. I'm remembering a past event. Okay, next one. Now there's Roger Federer, of course, the famous Swiss tennis player. Here are the two sentences. Becoming a top tennis player means to practice or practicing almost every day. And the second, I didn't mean to hurt or hurting you. I'm sorry that I made you cry. It's actually a line from a song, Jealous Guy, I think by the Beatles originally. So the first one, becoming a top tennis player means practicing almost every day. Here, the word means it involves or requires. Yes, becoming a top tennis player involves or requires practicing almost every day. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Here, means I didn't intend. I didn't have the intention. It wasn't my intention to hurt you. Okay? So there's a difference in meaning between the both uses. Okay, here's another one. So she won, oh sorry, that should be her first title when she was only 18, beg your pardon. A little error there. And then the second one, he went on to swim or swimming despite suffering from exhaustion. Okay, so first one is she went on, it should be, to become the world champion. And the second one, he went on swimming. So the difference in meaning, well, the first one, as I say, she won her first title when she was only 18. A little typing mistake there. Means she did it at a later date. She became world champion at a later date. She won the title when she was 18, and then later on, she became the world champion. So went on plus infinitive is at a later date. Whereas went on plus ing, he went on swimming despite suffering from exhaustion, means he continued doing it. You continue doing something. You don't stop. Sorry for the little error there. Okay, next one. I stopped to smoke or smoking when I was in my early 30s. After driving for many hours, he stopped to have or having a coffee. Well, the first one is Pause the recording if you want more time. I stopped smoking when I was in my early 30s. And the second one, I stopped to have a coffee. Difference in meaning. Again, pause if you need time to think. The first one, I stopped smoking. I stopped means I gave up. I don't smoke anymore. I gave up. I stopped smoking when I was in my early 30s. You don't do it anymore. Whereas I stopped to do something means in order to. This is like the infinitive of purpose. Why did you stop driving? It was to have a coffee, meaning in order to have a coffee. This was the reason why he stopped. Okay? So, you're going to see some sentences now, and I'd like you to find the mistakes. Some of the sentences are correct, some are incorrect. If they're incorrect, we have to correct them. Okay? So here's the first one. I can't afford buying a new car right now. The repayments, that's the money that you have to pay back every month if you're buying the car in installments, so much every month. I can't afford buying a new car. Is that correct or incorrect? Well, actually, it's incorrect. So what should it be? I can't afford. Is it buy or to buy? And the answer is to buy. Afford is followed by an infinitive. I can't afford to buy a new car. Second one, she denied taking the money from the purse. So if somebody has been accused of stealing money and she says, I didn't do it, it wasn't me. Is this correct or incorrect? Well, actually, it's correct. Deny is followed by an ing form. Next one. Remember getting some milk when you go to the supermarket. We've run out. We've run out means we don't have any milk left. So, is this correct or incorrect? Remember getting? Well, here we're talking about the future. When you go to the supermarket and you're saying don't forget, so it's incorrect. And the form of the verb should be to get, the infinitive. Remember to get some milk. Number 4. I call my daughter at least 5 times, but she pretended not hearing me. Happens to me a lot. I call my daughter to come and get her dinner or whatever, and she's playing a game and she pretends that she hasn't heard anything and continues playing. It's incorrect. It's pretended not to hear me. It's the infinitive after pretend. Number 5, I can't stand to do the washing up. I can't stand to do the washing up is incorrect. Is it what comes after can't stand? Is the gerund, doing. I can't stand doing the washing up. Number 6, I regret to say that I'll be unable to attend the meeting. Well, here you're apologizing for delivering bad news, so the infinitive is in fact correct. I regret to say that I'll be unable to attend the meeting. That's absolutely correct. Okay, here's the next group. She refused to accept that she'd done anything wrong. Refused to accept. Is that correct or incorrect? It's correct. It's the next one. You needn't to worry about a thing. We'll take care of all the expenses. You needn't to worry about a thing. We'll take care of all the expenses. Is incorrect. It's you needn't worry. It's infinitive without to after needn't. Number 8. Can you lend me a tenner? A tenner is £10. Can you lend me a tenner or can I borrow a tenner? I promise paying you back tomorrow. I promise paying you back tomorrow. Is that correct or incorrect? Pause the recording if you need time to think. And of course it's incorrect. Your promise to pay somebody back. I promise to pay you back tomorrow. Number 9. I wish you would to stop making so much noise. The kids, I don't know, they're banging drums or making we call it a racket. A racket is a loud noise, or a din, D-I-N. I wish you would to stop. Is this correct or incorrect? It's would stop making so much noise. Incidentally, you've got 3 verbs here. Would is followed by an infinitive without do, and stop is followed by a gerund, but the gerund is correct here when it means not do it anymore. Remember, stop plus infinitive means in order to, but in this case it's not do it anymore. Okay, number 10. I can't help biting my nails when I'm nervous. If I can't help means I feel I have to do it. And this is, of course, correct. I can't help is followed by a gerund. And I stopped to do yoga a few months ago because it was too expensive. Is incorrect. I stopped doing yoga a few months ago because it was too expensive. You gave up yoga. So that's it for this lesson. The next lesson is lesson 34 in the series. And it's on the vocabulary of war and warfare. Not a very pleasant subject, I know, but one which obviously people talk about and we need to know the vocabulary, etc. And there's a big battleship, American battleship, I believe. So we're going to be looking at weapons and weaponry, verbs related to warfare, and also nouns related to war and warfare, like siege and so on. Okay, so I hope you found this lesson useful in terms of verb patterns, and I look forward to you tuning in again to the next lesson on war and warfare. Thanks very much for listening, and bye-bye for now.